So let's talk about the salvage in Battletech and how can we get the most salvage in the game. That's what we're going to explore in this Battletech Tactica vlog. Lots of ways to play Battletech, and admittedly, I like big guns. I like blowing stuff up. Most of our Battletech games, not that we don't have tactics, but most of our Battletech games are setting up and blowing each other up from a once-off game. Here's the map, here's the mission, draw up your lances, and let's go. But there have been some times where we've played in a campaign. And a campaign is where you start with a set select force and you go through various missions deciding what you're going to bring and not bring along the way. And of course, your win-loss and other factors will determine overall how that game plays out. Multiple games strung together. And some campaigns can be very straightforward. Others can be very complex. We could pull in some role-playing aspects, all that type of stuff, and we explored it. Push it up to the Battletech playlist under campaign play. But an important part is salvage. This idea that when something is destroyed on the battlefield and the mission objectives are complete, based on what you control in the moment, or if we're playing real time, what you can get off the table, you get to keep, because you go into a campaign with a set amount of mechs and materials. Now, granted, that'll be modified by C-bills or whatever you're playing, but you got to bring your tech, your toys, and your repairs with you. So by the end of the campaign, if you've had some rough missions, even if you're winning, even if you've won the mission along the way, you can be pretty beat up. A recent campaign, I had a Marauder that I was fielding. It was downgrade. I got the autocannon got blown off, downgraded the PPCs because I blew through all those. They're down to large lasers. I've got a mix match of a small laser and a medium laser in each paddle. It's a patchwork of stuff. It's holding together, but a mech is a mech. Salvage is important. So if I can win the mission, but also get some toys along the way from my opponent that weakens them, but at the same time strengthens me. Another campaign, there was a downed pilot, and that pilot was somewhere on the hex map. So you had to kind of explore where they were. We randomly determined it based on the numbers on the hex maps. And I had a Cyclops that I was leading. So I'm going to send the Cyclops in with some other support. And right away, a mech buster flew down from my opponent, strafed, fired, blew off the Cyclops' head. It was crazy. Just an absolute clean kill. One of those things in Battletech where you're like, what the heck just happened? Now, I lost one of my command pilots because, you have mech warriors too. That was not a good entry point start to the campaign. But at the same time, what happened was now this mech is literally flawless on the table. Battle computer blown out, head blown out, life support. Yes, pricey to fix, but maybe you fix it. Or if you don't, massive, massive salvage. So immediately the game shifted from the mission, finding the pilot, which was important. It shifted to who's going to control this downed Cyclops. I needed to do it because what was going to happen there was I was essentially just going to put a lawn chair on top of that head with some aluminum armor and just get it back into the field. But my opponent wanted to capture that, again, for the resources. So salvage, very, very important. Okay, how do we do it? We've got the outline. Well, one of the things is facing. As I attack a mech and stuff happens, if the left leg, the best way, the easiest way to get salvage is to blow off the legs and then take control of the mech, capture it. That gives you the most salvage with the least amount of stuff to capture and play with. Now, on a sidebar too, one of the things with rules for Battletech, are you playing with force withdrawal? If a mech is downed and you capture it, can you ransom the mech warrior? There's a couple of nuances that could go either way, depending on how you want to play it in the narrative. But generally speaking, blowing off, obviously blowing off the head is best, but you can't control that. But we'll explore that. Or blowing off the legs is huge. That's going to allow you to do that. Arms and getting cored out and taking out the fusion engine and stuff, that's not going to give you much in terms of heavy salvage, but it'll give you some armor and a couple of components. As we're taking damage, if one of the legs takes more damage than not, then at that point, if I can face my mechs to attack just on that side, that's huge. If I can get up there with a medium or a heavy and magnify kick damage. One of the easiest ways to immobilize a mech is just to kick the legs off. Of course, I'm open and vulnerable to kicks also. So from that perspective, can I kick? Can I utilize that? Lights and mediums are also really good at punching. 1 in 6 chance of scoring a punch on the head. And again, trying to take out the mech from that head perspective. And of course, going for rear armor. But surprisingly, rear armor would be my last choice, which is completely converse. In most games, if we're playing head-to-head, even force withdrawal, non-salvage rules, I want to get to the rear armor. I'm going to blast through. Yeah, I might hit the arms, I might hit the legs. But if I can blast through that rear armor, unless you're like an assault mech, you're going to go down pretty fast. Even if I have a light or a medium, something like a Jenner or a great kind of rear armor. To sidebar for a moment, the Javelin. The Javelin, I pushed up to the Battletech playlist here in the archive. Check out the Javelin Tactica. 2 SRM 6-packs punch at close range on rear armor. That cuts through surprisingly fast. But again, in terms of salvage, my last choice, because it's going to blow through the fusion engine, blow through the gyros, blow through heat sinks, blow through torso weapons. It's going to core things out. That's the last thing I want in terms of salvage. But understanding the importance, being able to capture the salvage, control the salvage, deny the salvage, but coming up with a tactica for capturing it in campaign play.